So the iPhone 8 Plus is approaching its third birthday, and in this episode, we're going to take a look at iPhone 8 Plus 3 years later, how it stacks up now, September 2020. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. You might be wondering, well, why do you have two of the most premier phones next to the 8 Plus? I came here to see 8 Plus 3 years later. Well, I just want to showcase here, beginning with design, how does the 8 Plus look here in 2020? Well, September 2020. You can see the iPhone 12 Pro Max is probably going to add a LiDAR sensor or maybe an extra camera. We'll see, but it's probably going to look quite similar to the iPhone 11 Pro Max. And you can see right here that overall, from the side profiles, you can see the power button's a lot bigger. Overall, the iPhone 8 Plus design is just kind of looking a bit dated compared to, of course, the 2020 phones. And then we do have a premier Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, and you can see what's happening on the Android side of things, getting basically all screen, and you can see the bezels do start to show their age here for the 8 Plus. But other than that, design I think is actually quite industrial still. It actually looks quite nice still, and with the glass back, the aluminum sides, overall the iPhone 8 Plus is still feeling like a pretty premium phone even in 2020, although not quite as premium as the newer boys. So 3 years later, when it comes to the display of the iPhone 8 Plus, what do we have here? Well, 401 ppi, guys. That's pretty sharp, to be quite honest. As a matter of fact, I don't really notice a huge difference in sharpness between this and something like the iPhone 11 Pro Max. You can see here some of the specs of the iPhone 8 Plus. Really good stuff here. A 16:9 ratio, overall 625 nits of brightness. It does have True Tone as well on board. So if we swipe up right here and we punch in, there's also 3D Touch to mention. True Tone came to this phone, and it was pretty nice. It was giving you more of an easy to see display in terms of changing your ambient lighting and stuff like that. It just overall was very comfortable on the eyes. And one of the things I always mention in my 8 Plus reviews is that landscape mode is pretty nice. This was the last iPhone to do this. The newer iPhones don't really rotate in the landscape, especially on the home screen is what I'm talking about. And when it comes to video, you can see most videos, just like your TV set, are going to fit on this screen because there's no notch there. Now, yeah, that design does give you a little bit of a dated feel, but you do have the iPhone SE from 2020, which this just feels like a bigger version of that. The videos look good, and 1080p, even the newer Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra out of the box is giving you, a 1080p display. So the iPhone 8 Plus's display to me is still a very good display right now in September 2020, 3 years later. So if you're watching this video in September 2020 and you're looking to buy in this, well, you're thinking about software. The difference between this and the newer iPhones is down to the way you operate it. So you still swipe up here, but you do that on the new SE as well. You still swipe up from the bottom here on the 8 Plus, and you scroll down here to go ahead and get to the notifications. One thing I do like about the 8 Plus is you can still see your battery percentage up there. Really great with the software. But when it comes to overall updates, I actually didn't update this just yet. I was about to, but I wanted to leave here to show you that, look at this, iOS 13.7, the latest version of iOS. Yes, iOS 14 beta 8 is out right now, but that's for developers and public beta testers. The newest 14 will also be coming to this phone. So when it comes to the overall general software for the iPhone 8 Plus, you're basically still on a modern feel. The con is that it just kind of has that operation of the older iPhone, but the pro is that you still have the modern touches, the modern iOS, the modern App Store. All of the applications are still up to date, so nothing feels really like it's behind here. You've used the new iPhone that it just feels a little bit different in its operation, a little bit older in its operation, and some people may or may not prefer that. It's really up to you. Now, performance. When I was doing Apple speed tests way back, this phone really just beat the pants off so many phones out there, but it does have an Apple 811 Bionic chipset, and with that chipset, you do get pretty exceptional performance across the board. Now, this is not going to outperform the A13, especially when I'm rendering rendering out video, it takes much longer for it to finish versus the A13. When you get to the raw performance stuff, like, you know, gaming and things like that, this still actually does very well. The A11 Bionic just doesn't compete with the A13. However, the A11 Bionic is still plenty enough for the casual user. Most people using an iPhone will never even use the A11 Bionic's power. So yes, chipset, still a thumbs up. If you were buying this phone right now, it's not going to feel slow at all. Okay guys, so when looking at the camera setup for the 8 Plus, you can see on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, the newer iPhone 12's coming. This is where, you know, there's just no comparison. 3 years later, the iPhone 8 Plus's camera, when compared to the new iPhones, just seems like a really big step back here. And while it's not bad whatsoever, actually the video quality is still better on this phone than so many Android phones out there. It's just not even funny. The telephoto zoom is just something of an old feature now. The wide angle is the new thing for these phones now. And you pretty much expect to have a telephoto, or at least the ability to zoom, but not all phones give you a wide angle. So that seems to be the key separator right now on the newer iPhone. So I will say that the camera does feel a little bit dated, but what it does provide is exceptional. Like, I get good photo results, I get good video results. The front-facing camera definitely was majorly upgraded with the iPhone 11, so you can see a step back here. However, the selfie quality and video quality is pretty good here. It's just not exceptional like that. And it does have portrait mode as well on this phone. So 4K 60 on the rear, no 4K 60 on the front. Overall, I would say the camera, you know, at the prices you can snag an 8 Plus for now, it's acceptable. But it's definitely not going to knock your socks off, nothing like that. But go ahead and take a look at some of my samples and let me know your thoughts on the 8 Plus's camera. Now, an area that hasn't been really improved much is the audio.
Right there, or at least 11 Pro. I like that they removed the Apple logo here. You can see
Now, the audio does come in stereo form here, so it's pretty loud.
no Apple logo. Over my time, I really noticed that looks pretty clean using this phone.
So I'm not disappointed whatsoever 3 years later on the audio. You know, you have no headphone jack, that was taken away with the 7, but the audio's clean, it sounds good, it gets plenty loud for the 8 Plus, and it does have Bluetooth 5.0 connections. And that brings me on to the biometric security. We do have Touch ID scanner here, and while this doesn't feel, or it's not as secure as Face ID, a lot of people bought the SE 2020 simply because they wanted a Touch ID scanner, and with wearing masks pretty much everywhere these days, a Touch ID scanner comes very in handy. Overall, the convenience of using Touch ID has never been a problem, and just unlocking the iPhone 8 Plus has always been a dream. Easy to use, applications work perfectly with this, no issue. What about battery life for the 8 Plus? I mean, this phone, I've always raved about it being great, and while it hasn't been as good on some of the newer software updates, I'm still getting through a full day on the 8 Plus relatively easily, and it's kind of shocking considering this only has a 2691 milliamp hour battery. Not sure how this thing lasts so long, probably optimization, but this phone, guys, a full day with ease, no problem. And talking about phone calls, the phone call quality, I never raved about it, and I still don't get the best signal. The iPhone 11 Pro Max is actually a bit better, and the Samsung phones just destroy these iPhones when it comes to phone call quality. So, you know, this is not the best area for the iPhone 8 Plus. This is not 5G. This phone is actually only 4G LTE. Performance is pretty decent in mobile, but again, typically I want Wi-Fi to have the best connectivity on my iPhone 8 Plus. Overall, I'm not saying you can't use it. I'm just saying there's phones that are better when it comes to connectivity out and about and phone call quality. On the whole, 3 years later, this phone feels like an old flagship, which it is, with capabilities to keep up with modern life. It doesn't have the latest operation and software like the iPhone 11 Pro Max or the iPhone XS Max or the iPhone XR. So many iPhones with this new gesture-based system. It just has an older feel to it, the way you operate it. But clearly, you know, one of the cons I think of getting this is that just your resale value, because this body's old, it's going to drop. Apple usually has great resale value on their phones. Even when you sell them used, you sell them third party, they still get you a lot back. Because this phone's design is just getting dated and there's so many newer iPhones that are cheaper with gesture operation, this one's not going to net you a lot back. But I'd say it's had a great run. And if you want something bigger than the SE 2020 and you can sacrifice some of the things that offers, you might still like using this phone. This can also be a great pass down phone for people who have it and just want to give it off to somebody, you know, who's in need of a phone. It also could be great for people who just want to get their feet wet with iOS because it's still getting updated. Let me know your thoughts 3 years later with the iPhone 8 Plus. You think it's over with? You think we should just, you know, put the nail in the coffin for this one, or should we keep supporting it going forward? Because I know it's not done with software updates. Let me know down below in the comment section of this video. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to be well, and peace.